The new season is a new occasion for interesting meetings, incredible discoveries, and curious stories. My name is Konstantin Koksin. I'm an ethnographer, Turkologist, traveler, full member of the Russian Geographical Society, director of the Museum of Nomadic Culture in Moscow. My name is Tinkai Kritova. I live in Kazakhstan.
Я много путешествую.
I study the history and culture of the Great Steppe.
История и культура Великой Степи.
The culture of nomads of the Great Steppe is my favorite topic, which I have been researching for many years, and I have something to tell about it. I think that we will hear many new and unexpected facts from you. Welcome to Kazakhstan.
Казахстан.
Тысячи лет, вплоть до появления регулярных армий с массовым использованием огнестрельного оружия.
For thousands of years, until the appearance of regular armies, with the massive use of firearms, nomads were undivided masters of the Great Steppe. The Huns, who kept the Chinese Han dynasty in awe, used to say, "We are proud pride. We were born to ride on horseback and rule over nations. We will make their heads bow and knees bend." The Turks echoed, creating the great power of the eternal El, from Khingan to the Black Sea. In the 13th century, a handful of Mongols conquered a fifth of the inhabited land of the planet. What is the secret of success, the overwhelming success of nomadic armies? Tinkai, what do you think?
Обитаемой суши планеты. В чем секрет успеха, ошеломляющего успеха кочевых армий? Тинкай, как ты думаешь?
It seems to me that the steppe nomads were burning passionaries. Moreover, they rode horses.
Конница была и у других.
Other nations also had cavalry. Other peoples rode horses as well. And it is not scientific to say that they won because they are burning passionaries. It seems to me that passion prevails.
Прекрасный взгляд, женский взгляд побеждает страсть. Это женщины любят страстных, безусловно. Но побеждать...
Beautiful opinion, feminine opinion, passion prevails. Women like passionate men, of course, but not only passion wins, but also tactics, strategy, and perfect weapons. Let us take a little trip into history and see what actually led the nomadic armies to victory over their settled neighbors.
Создали кочевники. Мы уже говорили про вклад кочевников.
What did the nomads create? We have already talked about the contribution of nomads to the treasury of civilization in a common human culture. They tamed the horse and began to ride it. They came up with stirrups, saddles, and high bows, which allow you to fight with both a spear and a sword and shoot from a bow. It was the Huns who invented the unsurpassed throwing weapon, which was unparalleled during 1 century, a recursive composite bow. Do you know these terms?
Разбираешься в этих терминах?
Совершенно нет.
Absolutely not, but I know that modern bows are very large, and I remember that earlier in wars small, compact, quick-firing bows were used. Is that true?
Не всегда. Первый лук — это просто палка с веревкой.
Not always. The first bow is just a stick with a rope or with tendons. They pulled and shoot. This is an ordinary straight bow that children make when they play Indians. And what is a recursive composite bow? A bow consisted of 5 parts, a handle, 2 curved limbs, and 2 horns. Moreover, when we remove the bowstring, the bow bends in the opposite direction. When we pull the bowstring, it turns out a very beautiful shape, known from the drawings of the Middle Ages, a strong bent bow, and when shooting a bow, the horns act like blocks of a modern composite bow. The speed of the arrow from the bowstring is 70 to 80 meters per second. This is a tremendous speed for a bow.
70-80 метров в секунду. Это колоссальная скорость для лука. Луки кочевников, в отличие от...
The bows of nomads, unlike the bows of settled peoples, were small. I explain why. To shoot from a horse so that the withers of a horse do not interfere with firing left and right. The 13th century Mongolian bows, which were based on the Huns' designs, had a draw weight of 40 kilograms. Not every man pulls such a bow, but they pulled to the ear. The boy was considered an adult if he could pull his father's bow to the ear and hold the bowstring for a minute. What nomads came up with, if you make just a piece of wood, it will break. There was not much wood in a composite bow. These are thin wooden plates that were glued on the outside with the horn of a cow or yak. The horn was boiled in water, straightened and glued. Clay was boiled from hooves and horns. And the other part, tendons, were glued. Why is it like that? The horn provides compression and the tendons provide tension. And inside there is wood that holds it all.
Что получается? Рог работает на сжатие, сухожилие на растяжение. А внутри дерево, которое все это придерживает. Другое достижение степных кочевников, также хунну, это стрелы.
Another achievement of the steppe nomads, also the Huns, is arrows, red-hot arrows. Nomads of the Great Steppe use red-hot arrows, not because they were forged in fire. They took a tree and chopped it along the fibers. Then it was all processed. A perfectly smooth, round arrow was obtained. And then the blacksmiths forged the tips. We know more than 30 different forms, including sickle-shaped tips to cut the ropes of enemy-throwing machines, to deprive the enemy of artillery. They also use leaf-shaped arrowheads, the size of my palm, to attack horses of the enemies and unprotected people armor. There were dozens of varieties, including incendiary arrows, arrows with hooks. The fact is that when an arrow hits a person, it must be removed. If there are special hooks, the intestines are pulled out and the person dies. I must say that the steppe nomads use poisons very rarely. An arrow of such a length with such a tip, without any poison, killed on the spot. There were whistling arrows. They say that the Prince Modu invented them, the one who became the first Huns Shanyu and led them to victories. Do you know this story?
Победа. Ты знаешь эту историю?
Tell it, please.
В ту эпоху хунну, это 3 век до нашей эры,
In that era, 3rd century BC, the Huns were not a strong people. They paid tribute to their neighbors. Donghu are the ancestors of the Mongols. The Yuezhi are the ancient Iranians. In China, ruled by the Han dynasty, they were seen as the main enemies because it was necessary to unite China. And in order to unite the country, we need an enemy. We must always be friends against someone. Modu's father was Shanyu Toman, a blear-eyed, cruel man. He did not like Prince Modu. He loved his son from another wife. He wanted to make him the next Shanyu. So he sent his oldest son, Modu, to the Yuezhi as a hostage, and then provoked an attack on the enemy camp to kill the boy. But Modu was a smart guy. In the bustle of battle, he mounted his horse and returned to the Huns. And he said, "Dad, how did it happen? I was there, did not offend anyone." And the Huns were electing Shanyu, as it was subsequently among all the nomads of the steppes. And the soldiers shouted, "He is a brave man, 2 men, appoint him our leader." And his father gave Modu a small detachment of soldiers. And Modu said, "I will teach you to fight differently. You must shoot your arrows where I shoot the whistling arrow." In captivity, Modu cut out whistles from the bone and put them on arrows. He went hunting with his warriors, dismounted and shot a whistle arrow at his horse. The warriors lowered their bows in horror. The horse is a brother to the nomad. Modu immediately beheaded everyone who refused to shoot. And the next time, he went for a walk with Dad and shot an arrow at Dad. There were no doubters at all, and Modu became Shanyu and defeated China, ruled by the Han dynasty.
и в папу пустил стрелу. Сомневающихся не было вообще. И Маде стал Шаньюем и сокрушил ханьский Китай.
Amazing.
И за его свистящими стрелами народ хунну пошел к победе. Кстати, мастера, которые делали лук,
And following his whistling arrows, the Huns went to victories. By the way, the craftsmen who made bows and those who made arrows were completely different people who occupied a very high position in a nomadic society. The Huns also did not use armor, lightweight leather jackets, and very hardy horses. Huns, you will not believe, considered the war to be easy, funny, and completely safe. Why? The Chinese wrote, "It's easy to drive them away. It's hard to beat them. It's impossible to win. It is impossible to defeat an enemy that is scattering from you if something went wrong with them. They attacked the Chinese from afar, from powerful bows, showered the Chinese with arrows. The Chinese arrows simply did not reach the Huns, looted the prisoners with their lasso, and fled to the steppe. Hun's horse is extremely hardy." Subsequently, hardy breeds of Mongolian and Kazakh horses came from it. These horses can go up to 180 kilometers per day. Chinese was slow moving, 25 to 30 kilometers per day. The Chinese had no chance of winning, and the Huns flourished. Until, however, the vast Chinese Empire has crushed this power. But the remnants of the Huns came to Europe, and the Pope called them the Scourge of God. Everyone knows about Attila. Europe is still afraid of the Huns, and they scare their children with them. The so-called heavenly horses. This is the famous Turkmen breed, Akhaltikia. There is a version is that they originated from Ferghana. Why do they sweat with blood?
Говорят, что вот пот у них красноватый, либо просто красноватый оттенок кожи. Это китайские хроники.
Well, they say that their sweat is reddish or just a reddish skin tone. This is according to the Chinese chronicles of the 1st century BC. But the heavenly horses did not save the empire. China, fighting against a handful of nomads, was exhausted so much that the Han's empire collapsed. True, the Huns too were tired. Their remnants went west and became Huns, then crushing Europe. Well, those who remained in China ruled China. This is the era of barbarian kingdoms. And after hard centuries of troubled times, which lasted 400 years in the steppe, a new great nation raised the banners of the Huns that fell from their weakened hands. These are the famous Turks who created the eternal El. The Turks went the other way. These were also horse armies, but they created armored cavalry, which was unparalleled.
Но они создали латную кавалерию, которая не сдала себе рано. По легенде, Ашина
According to legend, Ashina brought his clan from Altai and got a job with the Jujans. And the Jujans lived by robbing everyone, sedentary and nomads, and especially the Wei dynasty. How did they do it? They came to camps and said, "Guys, it's not safe here in the steppe. You need protection, right? Otherwise, look, all kinds of unrest could happen."
порядки всякие случатся. Ну вот так себя вели жужжане, не всех достали.
Early medieval mafia?
Да, мы такие ракетиры, живя с жужжанями.
Yes, such racketeers. Living with Jujans, the Turks became even stronger. And in the end, they brought banners with a wolf head on a blue banner to the banks of the Volga River. It was heyday. The Turks created the armor cavalry buri and began the mass production of armor. The arrows just bounced off. Impenetrable coats of mail, helmets, and visors. Horses were armored even below the knee. A spear bone in iron was fastened to the bridle. Furthermore, this iron unit had a rush at a high speed. Imagine an avalanche of 20,000 iron-clad warriors rushing towards the enemy.
Закованных железом воинов несется на врага. Тюрки не знали себе равных.
In Almaty, there were gunsmiths, kulmenos, who are engaged in the reconstruction of armor and weapons.
Потрясающе. Было бы очень интересно.
Awesome. It could be very interesting to meet them and even see some things that are recreated according to the models of that distant era.
Добро пожаловать.
Welcome. This is our museum.
Вот музей наш.
Но здесь далеко не все работы.
Here, there are not all works that you did. Yes, not everything is here, only what is left. How much does such ammunition weigh? The total weight, 40 kilograms,
Общий вес 40 килограмм.
half the weight of an average man.
Да.
Но не забывай, когда мы надеваем доспех,
When we put on the armor, the weight is distributed.
вот его поднять это будет тяжело с земли. А когда ты надеваешь, все.
Они как бы здесь...
They were trained to wear the armor since an early age. Look, this is Saptama.
Вот смотрите, саптама называется.
As you can see, it is comfortable and convenient for running. You can move freely in them.
И двигаться.
Yes, they don't limit one's body movements and the knees are moving freely. At the same time, they are closed on all sides. Yes, they are closed on all sides.
А вот мне интересно, сколько стоил...
I wonder how much this armor cost in the 6th to 7th century. 50 sheep?
Нет, не 50 баранов.
No, not 50 sheep, but probably more, and they paid with horses.
Где-то больше.
About 100 horses? Yes, about 100 horses. This is a lot. This is a few herds.
Доспехи тюркское
The
время.
armor is of Turkic times, from the 5th to the 7th century. It is called Torgau-ot.
Как бы они солдаты, ну,
They were the soldiers who marched first.
первыми шли, которые.
Cataphracts. Yes, cataphracts. Their aim was to break the enemy's attack.
Да.
То есть мы можем говорить, что в таких
That means that the Buri soldiers wore this type of armor, or they used any other ones.
были какие-то другие доспехи.
Бури это...
Buri is a heavy armed horseback rider. So, as I can see, this is not a dismount warrior.
Конные, даже конные.
No, this is a horse soldier, and even a horse was armored. It was protected with the same suit.
Да,
Вот вы
вот
можете посмотреть.
это то,
This is what helped Turk Khaganates to succeed.
победы тюркским каганатом.
Довольно
You can see
тяжелая.
that it is rather heavy.
Сделано. Маска как бы
The
сделана.
mask is grave. It shows a hard-eyed expression.
Воина.
Да, он угрожающий, в то же время он хладнокровный.
Yes, this soldier is sober and calm in the field. People in sun and armor were terrifying for all the tribes from the Yellow Sea to the Black Sea.
Ужас на всю степь от Желтого моря до Черного.
Самое интересное вот.
Here, it is the most interesting thing. My father recreated it. No one has done it yet, because it is made from bovine skin. It is very light in battle and strong as iron.
Кожи делается, она очень легкая в бою и прочная, как железо.
А как
And how is bovine skin treated to make it so? Heated?
И потом смолу.
Yes, it was heated and then impregnated with resin, and it's like a frame.
арматура,
Да,
которая все это
арматура.
держит?
Да, держится.
Действительно, казалось,
The fittings that hold it all. It would seem that everyone knows that the nomads had leather shields, but how were they made? That the arrow, even if it pierced, it stuck in it from a bow of 40 kilograms. And so they did. It's like a bulletproof vest.
делались. Действительно, бронежилет.
Он очень
It is very lightweight, durable, and shock absorbing.
То есть
That is, the energy goes back. I am feeling it. You hit and it vibrates.
вибрирует.
Но для меня, допустим,
But for me, such a thing is quite heavy.
тяжелое.
Тебе нужно взять, например, шлем.
You need to take, for example, a Viking helmet. It is so large, wooden, and run with it, and you will understand that this is a very light nomadic shield. It is about 2.5 kilograms.
2,5 килограмма здесь. То есть это...
That is, it is not a heavy shield. And for comparison, can I see this one? This one is specifically for Tinkai. It weighs less than a kilogram.
Вот это для Тинкай специально. Вот этот меньше килограмма весит.
What about its strength? Oh, with this one, I would go.
По прочности он, конечно,
In
уступает.
strength, of course, it is inferior, but it is suitable for a horseback archer. Such a shield is quite suitable. The archery unit of the nomadic armies are extremely disliked to engage in close combat. They showered the enemy with arrows and left. My father made it. It's called tomagap. See, it protects the face.
защищает лицо.
Ну, у нас все это называется шлем.
This is a helmet with a flat visor.
С глухим забралом. Удивительно, как тонко сделано. Представляешь?
See how thin it is? Imagine a flat metal that was shaped.
Да?
Да, вот.
Его придали форму, он приобрел форму.
Pretty heavy, or is it considered light?
Или это считается легким?
Это легкий шлем.
This is a lightweight helmet. Here, you need a balaclava.
Подшлемник, шапочку, да, на голову, потом уже.
Nomads call it korpu, hats. Konstantin, would you like to try it on?
Давайте.
Давайте попробуем.
Let's try. Of course you feel protected in that. All closed.
Ну, без шапочки он, конечно, на голове не держится.
Well, it does not fit without a cap, and the helmet itself may kill me. Nevertheless, it makes you feel safe. It is closed from the all sides.
Защищенным. Все закрыто, да? Железная латная кавалерия стала символом.
And an iron armored cavalry became a symbol of the Turkic people. The star of the Khaganate has set, leaving a bright mark on the sky and in history. And then the wheel of time turned again. The Mongols were destined to surprise the world in a way that neither the Huns nor the Turks did. Because a boy was born in the family of a simple Batir, who was named Timushin. Becoming Genghis Khan, he and his descendants created the greatest power in the history of mankind. Power that occupied a fifth of the inhabited land of planet Earth. Until now, in military academies, say, in the Russian Federation, some battles of that era are being studied. How? There were fewer Mongols than Huns and Turks. There were 800,000 people, and against them, 80 million Chinese, 20 million Khwarezmians, 60 million Russians, not to mention other peoples.
Против них 80 миллионов китайцев, 20 миллионов хорезмийцев, 6 миллионов русских, не считая другие народы.
But this is a huge advantage.
Всегда воевали на 3 фронта и везде одерживали
The
победы.
Mongols always fought on 3 fronts and everywhere won victories. It is not believed, and if not, myths are composed, that there were innumerable hordes. They called the number 400,000 Mongols came to Russia. This is ridiculous. The Mongols could put out a 100,000 army. There were simply no more men. If everyone leaves, who will guard their native Ulis, their native nomads? What is the secret of the success of the Mongols? They probably had very powerful military tactics.
Да. Луки были
The bows were the same and based on the Huns' design. Moreover, the Mongols are great. They used the achievements of both the Huns and the Turks. Genghis Khan divided his army into Tumans. Tuman is a military unit of 10,000 soldiers. By the way, the Russian city of Tuman comes from the Mongolian Tuman. There was such a division.
от монгольского Тумен, там стоял такой корпус.
Probably the Russian word tma is also derived from the word tumien. Tma and tumien are cognate words.
И как был устроен Тумен?
Gloom, Tuman are the words of the same meaning. How was a Tuman arranged? Tuman, by the way, was commanded only by Genghisid. A man of any nationality could command 1,000, but only one from the clan of the Borjigins in Genghisid was able to command the Tuman. Or they were childhood friends of Genghis Khan. The armored cavalry is in the center of the army. 2,000 warriors chained in iron from head to toe, according to the Turkic model, and 2 wings, left and right, 4,000 light archers, and powerful bows with a tension of 40 kilograms. It is known that a Mongolian archer shot at least 16 arrows per minute at full gallop. That is, they will take you, but not to archers, while to be an archer was prestigious.
Лучникам это было престижно. Крылья окружали противника, не вступая в
Without engaging in battle, the enemy was showered with an avalanche of arrows. When the turmoil began, the armored cavalry rushed into the opponent's army and defeated the enemy. Here is a Mongolian tactics. And most importantly, the perfect order. What does the word horde mean? Center.
Орда — это порядок. Поэтому выражение «дикая орда» — это абсурд.
Horde is order. Therefore, the expression wild horde is absurd. The horde was not wild. There was perfect order. Han did not participate in the battle, raising colored flags or horsehair bunches. He gave signals, in fact, ruling on a hill, as if playing chess. The Mongol army was perfectly organized. They moved like chess pieces. Let's say I have shot 60 arrows and emptied 2 quivers, so I return. They give me right away 2 new ones. Without losing speed, I return to battle. The Russians called it the deadly carousel, by which they circled and destroyed everyone. Special engineer troops, which were recruited from the Chinese after the conquest of China, they made pontoon crossings. They made digging under the cities. Genghis Khan was the first to use gunpowder for the explosion of fortresses. Dozens of types of stone throwers, arrow throwers. The Mongols destroyed any fortress, and it all worked like a Swiss watch. The Mongols used to win, always being in the minority. For example, the battle on the Kalkar River. On the one part, 20,000 Mongols who had fought half of Eurasia with battles, commanded by the brilliant commander. On the other part, 80,000 Russians, Polovstians. The brilliant victory of the Mongols. The Russians were trapped, surrounded, and destroyed. Think about the number. 9/10 of the Russian troops were killed. 9/10. Until now, military academies are studying as an example of brilliant tactics and strategies to defeat the enemy army by a small number of foreign territory. Then the Mongols go to Europe. 2 battles with an interval of a day, April 9th and 11th, 1241 at Shanyu and Legnica. The Mongols fought 80,000 and then 50,000 strong armies of the best knights of Europe. The Mongols defeated the one army, then the other. The number of Mongolian casualties in the first battle is unknown, but in the second battle, having destroyed 50,000 knights, the Mongols lost, attention, 800 people. This is a catastrophe. The Pope ordered to hold funeral masses throughout the Christian world. When you read, you think, no way. Did they have howitzers, laser weapons? They had bows and arrows and the same forge blades as in Europe.
Лазерное оружие, у них были луки и стрелы. И те же самые кованые клинки, как в Европе.
There are a lot of stories and legends about how a very small army of Kazakhs won battles with the Dzungars, which outnumbered them many times.
Это тот самый великий подвиг, который необходим каждому.
This is the great feat that every nation needs in order to feel its unity. It was in this fierce battle with the Dzungars that the Kazakhs became a people, united and whole.
Единым и цельным.
The war with the Dzungars, in fact, gave us many national heroes. These are the Batirs Karasai, Agintai, great friends from different families. It is believed that Karasai was always accompanied by a winged leopard in battle. Agintai was called the Iron Fist of the Steppe because he was very strong. By the way, I was recently in Ulitao. Really amazing place. This force is felt there. Ablai Khan, as a boy, entered the battlefield. He was an orphan and helped Tolebi in the household. And so, at such a young age, he was eager to fight. And entering the battlefield, Sabalak shouted the name of his grandfather, Ablai, Ablai. It became his Uran, the battle cry. He rushed into the enemy's army and won. This is how Ablai Khan appeared in our country. The one who united the Kazakhs Rus? Yes. It's an amazing story.
Потрясающе, у каждого рода есть подобная история.
The flail is a dangerous weapon. The chain is wrapped around the axe shaft and can pull weapons, such as swords, from anyone's hands, although it would seem the simplest weapon. And it is really working. It's so strong. Here, he flings it back and with a deft movement allows it to catch weapons from the enemy's hands. And then you can capture, kill, or do anything. That is, to disarm the enemy is the most important thing.
Mahmoud Beybaris, у вас удивительно уютное место.
Mahmoud and Beybaris, you have an amazingly cozy place. I don't want to leave it. I can't believe that all this miracle, this immersion in the past is located in the very center of Almaty. And it reminded me, you won't believe it, of my museum, which is located in the center of Moscow. If you are in Moscow, come, I will show you my forge. Sure. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your work, because you are the guardians of traditions. Good luck to you. Come here again.
Прежде всего, хранителем традиций. Воинское искусство.
Military art is what the nomads of Eurasia, the nomads of the Great Steppe, transmitted from one civilization to another. The Huns transmitted it to the Turks to the Mongols. The Huns taught their distant relatives. The military art has always been preserved in the steppe.
У степняков всегда.